Hello, everybody. We're back again today with a part of a new series, actually. It's going to be a dual series. I'm here with Brian, Massey's Maine Entertainment, Doc, my usual partners. We've been doing the Perfect Album series on Brian's channel. I'll link that below so you can do a cross-section of what we've been up to. We're starting in the year 1980. This is a movie video, our top 10 movies of 1980. In conjunction with the Perfect Album that we've done for 1980. We're going to release them on the same day. I'm going to do that all the way from 1980 to 1999. Try and do one a week if we can stay on schedule. Record the same night. Next week we'll be doing 81, obviously. And just to see what was going on in the year, what our takes are. We've already done the Perfect Album from 65 on. We decided to start this movie thing beginning in 1980 on my channel. Brian's going to link my channel with his, and then you can, it's your choice whether you want to watch movies, music, they're both there for you. So we appreciate you checking them out. And what we did on this is a personal choice. Everybody has a different criteria on what their best favorite movies are or top movies are. Some people like to be entertained. They like the blockbusters, the popcorn movies. Some people like to laugh, and they're going to veer towards the comedies. Other people like to be taken away and transported to a place and time, an experience, a journey, more fantasy stuff. Other people like to be moved, maybe something in the human experience that you can learn from, and dramas and deep subject matter, whatever it takes. Or maybe it's a biopic that you can learn about a historical event that just before your lifetime. You're going to go back and check that out with the costumes and the different, the cinematography maybe and the art direction, whatever it takes, the musical score, artistic stuff that's well done, maybe a book adaptation, something you read, you made a movie out of it, you want to compare the two, any of this stuff, or it's something completely original, as we'll find as time moves on. There's always something coming out that's never been done before, groundbreaking, technology changes, CGI is going to come into play later on, that type of thing. So, or maybe you're a family guy and you want to maybe sit down and watch something wholesome for the whole family. Any of these criteria can form what you consider the best 10 movies of a given year. And one thing I can tell you is after in 1980, 42 years later, a lot of these are rewatchables. They'll come on cable, or maybe you have it in your DVD or Blu-ray collection. You can pop it out and watch it whenever you feel the need. These are the movies, your go-to movies. You go back and check them out, and that's why they're on the list. So I expect a variety of films between the three of us. Not everybody's going to have the same top 10 movies. So looking forward to this one, guys, starting in 1980. Just general feelings to open up the video. Brian, what do you think?
Kind of nostalgic to kind of go back a little bit and try to remember some of these that were my favorite when I was, 11 or 12 years old, and then try to mix that in with the, the film buff that I am now and try to come to some type of balance. I thought that was the fun part, as I got to kind of be a kid over again on this list a little bit, and it'll show on some of the movies, that I selected, that really it's just me, exercising the kid in me, and reliving that portion of my childhood. It was pretty fun.
And you can have a different perspective as a kid and as a grown adult in your 50s or whatever, and you see things a little bit differently and maybe a different take or more new appreciation. How about you, Doc?
Yeah, it's similar to Brian. It's a revisit to, you go through the list, you're starting to think things through when you're writing down movies that you haven't maybe checked out in a while and stuff like that, and it triggers something with you and it brings you back to that time when you first saw it. You're going back to 1980, and me and Brian are the same age, so we're kicking at something new, and it's in a lot of senses this becomes the shaping for what Brian and I will probably enjoy for the next 40 years of our life, really, as far as music goes, movies go. Mm-hmm. We saw stuff in the 70s that probably took us to where we got to in the 80s, but mid to late 70s, there were some things that really stood out to both of us, I'm sure. But now it's really starting to kick. Now it's starting to film into this is Doc's movies, man, for 1980, and I can have a real strong say and makes up part of what I like. And same musically and same with anything else, sports wise, everything else that I follow in my life. It's all around this time that it all morphs into what me or Sean is at this time. So it's fantastic. It's great to go back.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I love doing these kind of things. So we're going to do, like I said, top 10. The order is going to be Brian, Doc, me, and we're going to count them down 10 through 1. We'll throw in towards the end the worst movie of the year for anybody that hasn't seen it to stay away from it. If you're leaning towards, I never saw that film. Well, we're going to tell you right out, there's some stinkers in 1980 as well. But Brian, kick it off. What do you have at 10? And just go through your list. We're going to do these one at a time as far as.
Oh, okay. So number 10 is kind of I'm into sci-fi and I'm into, you know, fantasy type films and stuff. So number 10, I have The Final Countdown movie. You know, it's kind of a sci-fi fantasy movie about an aircraft carrier that had been sent back inadvertently in time, and they are forced to deal with a dilemma about whether or not they would interfere with the attack on Pearl Harbor with their sophisticated weaponry and their technology. And it's very interesting, you know, storyline that goes along with it. And of course, it's got the sci-fi component to it that's very interesting. And for 1980, I thought that the special effects and the storyline was very original and very different. So I wanted to definitely include this here. I've seen it this here recently. I think it came on like maybe 3 weeks ago. I saw
really?
It, you know, and I just let it play. I mean, that's really one of the keys that I like. If I like the movie, I want to let it play in the background. I let it play, and I watched it when I could. Number 9, another favorite of me. If anybody knows me, they know that, you know, I've got comic books everywhere. I'm a big comic book fan. My favorite Superman movie with Christopher Reeves is Superman 2, the one featuring General Zod, Terrence Stamp, and the other 2 villains from Krypton. I think it's the better one. There's something, I don't care how corny the graphics look now by comparison to CGI. There's something just pure about those movies that Christopher Reeve was in that just you know, kind of makes me remember about my childhood, and this is my favorite of that series. I think it's a fantastic movie. So number 8, I got a comedy. It's Caddyshack, probably one of the most quoted comedies ever. You know, I mean, if you'd be hard pressed, you know, walking by somebody who didn't know about, you know, the Cinderella story out of nowhere, you know, caddy turned golf pro, you know, and all this other stuff. I mean, you would be really hard pressed. And what a great cast that it has in it, you know, Chevy Chase and even the scene that they have together with Bill Murray, even though, you know, there's tension between those 2 actors. I thought the chemistry actually worked pretty well. That semi tension that happened in the movie, I thought was really great. So great. It's a great rewatchable movie. I've seen that movie over 20 times easy. Number 7 for me is one that's kind of one that I took on later on in life, you know, when I was much older and I was going to art school and stuff. And that's The Ninth Configuration. It's directed by William Peter Blatty. He's mostly known for the Exorcist series and, you know, the novels and everything else. This one's a little bit different. It's about an insane asylum, a military commander who's sent to an insane asylum to try to deal with his post-traumatic stress disorder, based on the short story Twinkle Twinkle Killer Kane. Very good. The acting in it is actually superb, very sublime, surrealistic psychological thriller, and you know, slash comedy. It's got some comedic elements in there as well. I think everybody should at least check it out at least once in their life. I think it's a really good movie. Number 6 for me, I've got the Blues Brothers. You know, what do you say about that? I mean, anybody, Blues Brothers are on TV. You're watching it.
Absolutely.
You know, you're just along for the ride. It's just the way it is, you know. And back then everybody was doing the same thing. Everybody would throw on a pair of sunglasses and look at their teacher and go, "We're on a mission from God." You know, I mean, it's the same thing over and over, and same slog. So, great movie though, rewatchable. Even today, if it was on right now, I just let it play on the TV. It's not a big deal. Number 5 for me, again, kind of probably more of a film thing, since I took a class on David Lynch, and I've got The Elephant Man here at number 5. I think the acting in it is just top notch. I think John Hurt just absolutely made his career with this role, really made his name in Hollywood. It's got, you know, a little bit of the, not so much of the surrealistic elements that Lynch typically throws in his film. This is more of a straight up kind of a drama, you know. I mean, he kind of mixes himself in a little bit with the the makeup and the things like that, the disfigurement and stuff, things that he's kind of into a little bit and in his filmmaking. But this is done in the context of the actual story of the Elephant Man. So number 4 for me, maybe the best of all the Star Wars movies, no hand, I would say, and The Empire Strikes Back. Most people would agree it's the best of all of them anyway. Yep. Why? Ends on a downer. I think that it was one of those few times where you saw, wow, the heroes didn't win in the end. There's like this big, huge cliffhanger that sucks you in even for the third movie now. And it never happened a lot. So people were, kind of enamored with that, and it had such a really good, tight story that didn't have a lot of loose ends. And it really was tied to relationships more than it was tied to special effects.
Right.
And I think that that's what made The Empire Strikes Back so special. Let it be like the marquee movie probably in the whole franchise. Number 3 for me, I've got Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I gotta tell you, this movie, when I was that age, it scared the shit right out of me. I'd say I would not have stayed in the hotel probably within a few months of ever watching this movie for the first time. There's just absolutely no way. Horrifying. The little girls in the hallway is probably the worst thing when I was a kid, remembering having nightmares about, and what a powerful film. And later on, in art school, I was able to appreciate the filmmaking that went into that. Kubrick's a fantastic director, great use of space. He knows how to get the most out and the worst out of his actors. And, Shelley Duvall basically had a nervous breakdown making that movie on set. So what a great movie. It's worth watching for anybody who's never seen that. I can't imagine there's a scenario there. Number 2 for me, this was kind of weird because number 1 and number 2 I bounced back on for a while. Ultimately, I went with the best film to be number 1, so I went with the best story that I felt like a really great connection for, and that was Ordinary People. I thought the acting right across the board was the best. Donald Sutherland and the Timothy Hutton. The characters are just the sublime acting in it. It's incredible. The story just absolutely breaks your heart, and they don't rush you into this sadness. It's like you're going through the therapy with him while they're telling the story about the ordeal and how it affected the family. And it's a powerful film. And it's just that the filmmaking was so superb for the number 1 spot that there's no way I could bump it out of there. So, but before I covered the number 1, what I wanted to say, I wanted to do the worst film of the year first, because I never want to end this stuff on downers, when it comes to worst films. So I had the worst film of the year. First off, you had to legitimately try to make a movie and then try to sell it and then try to, and actually push it out there in the marketing field. I thought Popeye was a piece of shit. That was the worst movie. I mean, even for Robin Williams, there's only so low you can actually go. And I just felt like that's a complete sellout. He was basically a caricature of himself, and everybody else in it could have been non-existent. You could have replaced any of those people in that film with anybody else doing the same exact role, and it wouldn't have added anything more or less. Everything was contingent on Robin just being Robin. And I just thought the movie was just terrible. The script was terrible. Everything about it just was hokey, nothing. So that was my worst film. The best film, clearly, I mean, for filmmaking and combined with story and everything, it's got to be Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull. I can't see anybody. I can't see anybody, in my opinion anyway, knocking that from the top. I mean, Pesci, De Niro, everybody's right on the top of their game. I mean, I love the way that the fight scenes are shot so incredibly well.
Oh, yeah.
It feels so realistic. You feel like you're taking the punches with him. And it's just, comparatively to Rocky, it takes the glamour all right out of that, all that sweetness and glamour of Rocky, and you strip that all away, and they left, and whatever was left over, that was the true pugilist that they wanted you to see in the film, and Scorsese just knocked it right out.
Awesome. I like your list
Very
a lot.
cool.
Tremendous. I'm not going to give anything away. I'm going to take a page out of Doc's book again and just hold on to it, because you'll hear a lot of the same films later, maybe.
Keep it close to the vest. Keep it close to the vest, Rich. So
I learned something from you, Doc. I learned it.
Yeah, eventually it's going to catch on, eh? So that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, great.
Obviously, it's to your point, Brian. It's very diverse, and it's the 80s here. And as we started off, order might be one thing. The gist of it is, I think we're going to be covering off maybe some similar flicks as we move along, and the personal taste is the personal taste. And I think that's just what's going to unfold as we move.
That's right.
All right, Doc, dive in. 10 through 1. What do you got?
Number 10, I'm going to start off with, mine's The Great Santini to start off with, number 10. Just one of these movies that, I remember seeing it, at a young age, and it's one that's always just kind of like hung around with me. And I don't watch it all the time. Some of these movies, we can talk about, the viewing of whatever it is for these things are. I don't go out looking to watch The Great Santini, but once in a while, it pops up, or I come across it, or I see it and stuff. I'm hooked, man. It's a fantastic flick. Robert Duvall's awesome, man. And this is a powerful, sad story. If I was to compare it to something else off of Brian's list here, Ordinary People, along those lines, where it's just a family movie and different levels, and it's heartbreaking and real at the same time. So Great Santini is an awesome flick from 1980, I think. And Robert Duvall's a powerhouse, in my opinion. So I'm going to start that one off my list at number 10. Number 9. This is just one of my favorites, man. It's The Changeling with George C. Scott. Is going to make my list.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Doc's list, man. In 1980 flicks, man. This is what you're going to get. This will probably be the order that you watch them in. It could fluctuate some points or something, but you get the idea. The Changeling is a classic horror flick from Canadian made to boot, but just a great horror flick, man. And George C. Scott's George C. Scott, man. I don't care what anybody says. That guy's in a movie. You got a good chance of being something pretty good. So it was freaky horror, ghost horror, and like there's some other movie that came out, that didn't make my list. Friday the 13th, kind of broke some ground too. Didn't make my list, and other things like that, But The Changeling is a really good horror flick, and I'm trying to spread the love here on different genres too. So Changeling is going to come in at number 9. Number 8, I got Mad Max, man, coming in at number 8 for me. So
cool.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, this is I think we talked about it even when we did our 80s, or one time, I don't know when we talked about it I'm happy we were visiting our movie thing. So talking movies. Mad Max is a great flick, man. Looking at the way it's shot and everything else, and Gibson at this stage, and it's the Road Warrior, Mad Max, even Thunderdome later on, pretty damn good too, actually, if you get down to it. And the ones that came out recently are very well too. But Mad Max is a classic action, over the top movie, man. Just it's nonstop, full throttle action, and I love that too, man. Number 7. It's my second favorite, Brian, but it's still on my list, man. Superman number 2 is going to come in here for me too. So yeah, one's got a special place, man. I can't help that. Mario Puzo writing a story of Superman, man. The guy wrote The Godfather, guy writes Superman. What do you want to hear? Gene Hackman's kind of like a buried idol of mine. I love everything that guy's in, so pretty much. Take Australia. That would be fine with me. So Superman 2 is a great sequel to a classic movie, in my opinion. And, you get that a few times, and especially at this time, we start, the Rockies and other things that come out. Some pretty good sequels came out, and not say everything went great later on in life, but Superman 1 and 2, this is number 2 coming in 80. Yeah. Great flick. Definitely making my top 10 for the 1980.
Nice.
Number 6, yeah, man. Cannonball coming. It's got to be Caddyshack, man. So
yeah,
it's a great scene with Chevy and Bill and that saying, you got a pool and a pond. It's great. So Brian, it's one of those flicks you could just quote the crap out of that sucker and just go all day, right?
Baby Ruth, Baby Ruth.
Baby Ruth.
Oh God.
And you die on your deathbed. Yeah. But whatever the case, Caddyshack's classic, man. It's a classic one from the 80s. I'm taking, man. This is one of the first ones I ever saw on
Somebody step on a
VHS, man, a beta machine at the time. So this is great. Yeah, I have a run here, I guess is the way I'll say this. I'm coming up, man. I got the Zuckers, man. I got Airplane coming in after this one.
Yeah.
So
I knew somebody would have Airplane. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got this. I see. As you can see, my love of comedies at this time. I think they're classic comedies that are still with us today. And Airplane, Caddyshack, Airplane, the ultimate slapstick, stupid comedy, man. This is from the guy on the overhead speaker at the beginning of it, the taxi driver pulling up, and the guy starts the chains, and him going on a plane to everything else that goes on in the movie. A little bit of a story in there. Leslie Nielsen's friggin' hilarious in this flick, man, and Robert Stack, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You bring it all up, man. Roger, Victor. What's our over? Let's go. So, Airplane, another classic, another quotable flick for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, totally. Got the Blues coming in number 4, man. What can I tell you? It's
wow, pretty high.
Yeah, it could be my favorite comedy. It's right up here, man. I like a lot. You get the idea. Some of these could switch in my life, I guess, as it goes. Blues Brothers is literally maybe the first movie I ever saw on a beta machine.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And the last.
Hey, listen, man.
They weren't around that long. I mean, it's like.
Yeah, this was like Under the Tree came out. We were watching it that night, man. So like when I tell you, this is when this happened. So I'm trying to remember what they were. Clockwork Orange was one of the 4 too, just as a side note. But, so yeah, Blues Brothers. Yeah, right. Yeah. 105 miles to Chicago, a pack of cigarettes, it's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Let's hit the road, boys. So, and Jake and Elwood, man, it's great music in this movie too, man.
Absolutely.
Surprise appearances.
Oh,
you got Carrie Fisher, you got Princess Leia in here, and you get Steven Spielberg's at the Cook County Courthouse, man, just signing off and stamping it down at the end. So there you go. So great flick. Blues Brothers is a classic, and one for my lifetime, that's for sure. Sequence, Brian. Sequence here. This way, it's personal. Rating Bull number 3 for me, man. So,
wow. Okay, good hot take.
Yeah. It's Doc's list, man. This was Raging Bull is a classic, right? I'm going to tell you that. Anybody going to tell me it's one of the best movies of all time? Sure, it is, man. It's fantastic. It's an awesome flick. This year, I just got a couple more that I would probably put a little higher, just for me, and that's the way it is. And not to say that it's a better movie. I'm just saying, for me, this is a better movie. These are better movies. So, Raging Bull, I'm not going to complain. It's Pesci, it's De Niro, it's classic, it's Scorsese. This is one of Scorsese's best, maybe second best flick, maybe. There's not much to say about this flick, man, except if you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. And this is what acting is all about. It's kind of what movie making is all about in a lot of senses too. So. Like that Shining too, man. That's my number 2. Wow. Yeah. That scared the hell out of me too, buddy. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. So, and to be honest with you, obviously it's a freaky kind of freaking you out kind of thing when you're watching it, especially at that age. Brian, we're young watching this shit, man. This is like, I don't want to see this. This is too freaky almost. And it was almost scary. Like personally scary. Like, I don't want to see this, man. This is the kind of shit that does give you nightmares at that age. So
yeah,
you look at it, it's like, this is a masterpiece, man. The Shining is the ultimate horror flick, man. And it's right up there. Exorcist, The Shining. This is my neighborhood of these things. That's why, and I love that genre. So that's where it goes. I guess I got to do my worst one, right? My worst.
Yeah.
So, Brian, I love your pick. Let me tell you, man, I had a list of like 6, and that was on my list. I'm going to lie to you, man. So, but even Olivia could not save Xanadu, man. And
great pick.
Yeah,
that's true.
Great pick.
I love your pick, Brian. Like, it's on my short list. But Gene Kelly, man, what the hell? Swan from the Warriors, you're in this movie, man. it's so it's the ultimate cheese.
Yep.
I'm still upset ELO is kind of associated in one sense, but I can't control that. But whatever. Yeah. Look, my boyhood crush, Olivia Newton-John, could not save this movie, man. So what's that? This is really shitty. So you want to talk about the worst movie of the year? This might be in the decade running, man. This is garbage.
Wow.
This is
Awesome.
the ultimate cheese, and there's no getting around that.
That's a great choice for worst. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Good pick.
Thanks. If I jump into my number one, my favorite movie of 1980 is The Empire Strikes Back, man.
Wow. There we go.
Yeah, the greatest sequel of all time. Yeah, to me, it's hey, look, what do you want, man? I had Star Wars, and I mean, I'm getting this at that age. I don't think I'm wrong picking this one as my favorite movie of 1980, man. This is groundbreaking. I like that Lucas stepped back a little. I like that it's that somebody else directed. He was more story. Other guys wrote it.
Yeah. I think he started having Lawrence Kasdan write some of his.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. Sets him off on a bit of a career path here too, right? So Kasdan is because he's up and coming at this time. He's doing something before this, but this is his big break too.
Yeah.
And you're right. The story in this one is, you don't see this too often, man. Usually the second one, the hero wins. The second one, no, not here, man. This is a heartbreaker on a lot of levels, especially at that age for me at that time. The Empire, man, is still one of my favorites of all time, and that's going to be my movie of the year, 1980.
I like it.
I like it
too. It's hard to argue it.
Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of the biggies in there, like Raging Bull and The Shining near the top, and you tip your cap to the best comedies, which is, one of your favorite genres. So awesome.
Definitely.
Great job.
Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, The Changeling, I'm going to go rewatch again now. I think I need to see it again.
I only saw it once when it came out. It didn't really register with me, but I'll take Doc's word for it.
Yeah, I'm going to jump back in that.
Yeah, it's worth a watch again, guys. You got to remember it's 1980, but I think you're gonna watch it, and it's a creepy thriller horror flick, man. It's really cool. I like it.
George C. Scott's an all-time great actor too, no question.
Absolutely. Even when
you might remember we talked about it. Yeah.
Even when he makes an okay movie, pretty damn good.
Pretty damn good, yeah. You remember the commercials there, the wheelchair going back and forth at the top of the stairs?
I remember that.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
So that's the Changeling.
I remember that, but I don't remember like scene for scene the flick that much. I know I saw it, but you're talking 42 years ago. I saw it, and I never rewatched it. So it's one of them.
Very cool.
All right, let me jump in here and run through my 10. I think I have 6 or 7 that have already been mentioned, believe it or not. A couple of oddball picks that I stand behind. I'm the only one that took them. So number 10 is the Blues Brothers, Jake and Elwood, on a mission from God. Doc's right. The music in here is fantastic. You got Aretha in the church or on the kitchen rather, doing her thing.
The kitchen.
You better think. And then they break in the sink and got the pink waitress outfit on, and I remember the scene in the church of guys doing backflips down the aisle, just over the top direction by John Landis. Fantastic. Aykroyd and Belushi, what a team. It's just a tragic thing what happened with Belushi, because those guys had so many movies ahead of them, and it wasn't meant to be for whatever reason. So that's my number 10. I had to have a one comedy on here. It edged out Airplane and Caddyshack, but those were the contenders for me. But Blues Brothers takes the number 10 spot. Number 9 is a movie that nobody had, and I really didn't expect them to. It's a Western called The Long Riders. This is a flick where they actually use real acting brothers to play the brothers, the gunfighters and the bank robbers, post-Civil War, there's a botched robbery, and then the Pinkerton detectives put a bounty on Jesse James. Jesse James played by James Keach, brother of Stacy Keach, who plays Frank James. So you have the Keach brothers, you have the Carradine brothers playing the cold younger gang, David Carradine, Keith Carradine, and Robert Carradine. All three of them are in it. Dennis and Randy Quaid play Ed and Clell Miller, who's one of the guys that screws up in the bank, I believe. And then Christopher Guest and his brother Nicholas Guest are Charlie and Bob Ford. Bob Ford being the guy that eventually shoots Jesse James. And there was a whole movie made on that with Brad Pitt and the young, what's the kid's name? The one that was in Manchester by the Sea, the young actor.
Casey Affleck.
Casey
Affleck played Bob Ford in that movie years later. But I like it. It's a stylized Western directed by Walter Hill, who did 48 Hours. Pretty good director, kind of underrated. So I'm going to go with The Long Riders in my number 9 spot. Number 8 is just a quirky kind of personal film I like called Melvin and Howard, directed by Jonathan Demme. And this is a story of Howard Hughes, where he's hitchhiking in the desert. He gets picked up by Melvin Dumar, who's a gas station attendant. They bond in the car, singing Christmas carols and some songs. And years later or months later, some disheveled guy walks into the gas station and leaves an envelope there. And supposedly it was his last will and testament, Howard Hughes, for like $165 million he left to Melvin Dumar. Turns out it may have been a forgery, and it's a whole lawsuit that comes up. Dabney Coleman plays the judge. It's kind of an interesting film. And Mary Steenburgen, one of her early roles, she's in it as well. She plays a stripper. I like the film, so I always have. Number 8. Number 7, Doc had this one. I'm glad he did. The Great Santini. Love this film. This is a family drama. Air Force guy who was strict with his family. He treats his kids like a drill sergeant. And the wife, played by Blythe Danner, sort of the intermediate person who's like, you're a little too hard on the son, played by Michael O'Keefe. There's a side story with the black kid, a beekeeper, which is interesting as well. A lot of stuff going on. One of Duvall's best performances. He's just, into that role. He's got the crew cut. He's just a tough son of a bee. And I saw it about a year ago, and it still holds up. It's a pretty good film. So I'm going to give that number 7. Number 6 is The Elephant Man, which Brian had, directed by David Lynch. And you're right, it's not the usual off the wall, kind of under the radar or under the surface kind of David Lynch stuff where he pulls out all the stops. This is a straightforward drama, really. Black and white.
Yep.
John Hurt, incredible performance. Too bad he was up against De Niro that year, or he may have won the Oscar, although Duvall was up for it too. There were a lot of good performances in 1980. Anthony Hopkins plays a doctor in here too, as well. And Bancroft's got a great cast. He starts out as a freak show or a sideshow, and people are selling tickets to see him, and it's just demeaning, degrading stuff. And eventually people take some empathy on him and show him a little kindness. And he's introduced to Shakespeare at one point, and it's pretty solid film, very moving film. So that's number 6 for me. Number 5, you guys both had it. The Empire Strikes Back had to be in my top 5. I'm not the biggest sci-fi guy, as you know, but this is the best Star Wars film, head and shoulders above all the others for me. You got the father and son dynamic going on here. You got the good guys don't always win, so that adds some drama and adds some realism, because that's not life. But the effects are top notch, especially for 1980, and it just works. And it leaves you wanting the next film, which you had to wait 3 years to see, but that's the way it is. Number 4, nobody had this, and I'm not surprised. It's a biopic. Coal miner's daughter, Sissy Spacek, as Loretta Lynn. I think it's a well-told story. Tommy Lee Jones plays her husband, who's kind of a hick kind of guy who is her manager at the time. And they're just starting from nowhere, going radio station to radio station, trying to sell her as this innocent singer with a beautiful voice, and it's a true story. I really was impressed with Sissy Spacek. She inhabited that character, and that's number 4 for me. She won the Oscar, by the way, for Best Actress that
That's
year.
right.
Yeah.
Number 3 is The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's horror masterwork. Brian's right about the space. The kid riding that little 4-wheeler in the hallway is legendary with the tracking, the way the camera moves, cutting the corners, and then going into that, I think it's room 237 or whatever the room number is, where that woman sort of disintegrates, like, you know, she just dissolves into nothing. All her skin falls off, and just horror, and the blood flowing in waves coming out of the walls, the twin girls, the Scatman Crothers scene with the axe, and that took you by surprise. You never see that coming.
No,
that's
when
right.
You first see it, you know, the maze, that maze outside in the snow. Shelley Duvall coming upon Nicholson, all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. He's got poems. He's got you know, a novel with everything the same. He's completely dissolved into madness.
Right.
You know, here's Johnny with the axe, and if that movie don't scare the shit out of you, nothing will. I mean, it rivals The Exorcist as one of the best horror films of all time.
Yeah,
no question about it. Number 2 is Ordinary People. I just love this film. I think it's a wonderful family film. Timothy Hutton, who is the supporting actor winner, who's really on screen more so than Donald Sutherland and Mary Tyler Moore. It's his film. It's about him and his reaction to his brother's suicide.
right.
That's right.
How his dad deals with it, how his mom deals with it. Mary Tyler Moore gives this emotionless, kind of stoic performance, and then she has a moment alone where she sort of falls apart when she knows the marriage is over. I don't want to give too much away. Donald Sutherland's the best performance I've ever seen him give.
Absolutely.
I stand by that. And
Yep.
Timothy Hutton, I thought he had a big career ahead of him after this, but he really never matched this role when you think about it. It's a hard one to match. Everything about it is first rate. Directed by Robert Redford, of all people.
Yeah.
They really did a great job on this film. It's basically this perfect suburban family that you think from the surface is they're flawless, and yet one tragedy splits them up, and just you see the cracks developing as you go along. It's a wonderful film. My number 1, let me get, before I get to number 1, my dog of the year, my worst film. You guys may like it because you like horror more than me. It's Friday the 13th. I absolutely detest these slasher films with no reason other than to just kill one teenager after another. That's not, to me, it's not quality horror like The Shining, and even Halloween had a storyline with the music. It was well thought out and well crafted. I just don't like how Friday the 13th. I don't like anything about it, and it set the way for all these slasher movies to come for the next decade, really. Whether it be Nightmare on Elm Street or Terror Train or The Fog or this or that. I don't like any of those films. So I'm going to single that out as the worst film of the year. My number 1 is Raging Bull. Can't get around it. Martin Scorsese. De Niro, of course, putting like 50, 60 pounds on, whatever he put on.
Yeah.
He played Jake LaMotta. The anger in the ring. He takes all his frustrations and anger of his life out in the ring, beating people to smithereens. You can hear the ribs cracking, the blood's flowing. His wife, who was like a teenager, played by Kathy Moriarty. You know, she's this hard-talking street girl, but he lays a whooping on her, you know, just beating her to death. His relationship with his brother, played by Joe Pesci, is incredible with the verbal language. Every curse word I ever learned came out of that film. The combination of F-bombs and, you know, used as adjectives and verbs and pronouns. They just...
There's a mix mash of all of it.
It's an exercise in vulgarity. Let's put it that way. And Scorsese, of course, black and white again. The blood dripping from the ropes. It's black, but it shows the violence in the ring. Very realistic. He takes you inside the ring. Like Brian said, you feel the punches. You feel his anger. He's coming at you. There's scenes where he's coming at you. There's other scenes where you're seeing the damage on the guy's face that he's boxing. Great film. Artistically perfect. The editing is excellent too. I don't want to diminish the editing. Everything about that film. You hear like animal sounds when he's pounded on people. Oh, like Raging Bull. He's literally a bull in the ring, and it's based on a true story. Jake LaMotta. I don't know whether Jake was like this or not, but evidently he had some input into the screenplay, and that's going to be my number 1. I just think it's the best movie of that year, so I have to give it that.
Fantastic.
I like it. Of course,
Sure.
I like it. It feels like we were almost right on the ball there in the top 5. We were all, you and I, Rich, were circling the same 5 movies. It felt like.
Well, we had Raging Bull, Ordinary People, The Shining, and Empire. I don't remember what your 4th or 5th.
I had Elephant Man at 5. I mean,
yeah, I had it at 6. So we
yeah,
were,
I mean, we're really close. I mean,
close.
that's
Yeah.
that was really close.
Yep.
I'm the oddball.
I did have Coal Miner's Daughter at 10 for a while, but I did rewatch it, and I guess I don't know. I couldn't die. For some reason I couldn't push myself back into the movie again. It was a little tougher. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, it's either your thing or it's not. I like biopics. I learned something about, Loretta Lynn, and the portrayal by Sissy Spacek was first rate.
Yeah.
I like Tommy Lee Jones in that movie too. He's got the reddish kind of hair. He looks a little different.
Yeah.
Much younger there, eh?
Much younger. 42 years ago,
Yeah.
It's a long
Goes
time
back.
ago.
He looks
Long
younger.
time.
So
we picked Xanadu, Popeye, and Friday the 13th. That I don't have any argument for any of those.
those are the 3 to stay away from.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was Kevin Bacon's first movie, right? Friday the 13th. He was in that movie.
No, he would have been.
I think he was in Animal House.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
But he was in Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah, he takes it good in that one.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Probably deservingly so.
Take one for the team, Kevin.
Right through the bed, man. Right through the bed.
I just want to throw a couple of films that none of us touched on that I think are notable films, like Dress to Kill. Did anybody consider Dress to Kill? Brian De Palma.
It was my number 10 until the Great Santini took it out.
Okay, so it was considered. Urban
Yep.
Cowboys, another movie with Travolta and Deborah Winger that a lot of people like, but it wasn't making my top 10. If we did top 20, maybe.
No, it didn't make my list.
It didn't even consider. I didn't even consider it.
Another film that was highly ballyhooed at the time was Fame. Didn't see it.
Didn't make my list.
Altered States, another one.
I
Nope.
thought about that a little bit, but
William Hurt, one of our favorites,
yeah.
And what else? Brubaker was a prison film that came out.
Definitely made my list. It was
Yeah.
almost done. It almost made my list.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent film. And there's a sleeper here. You guys see My Bodyguard with Matt Dillon as a young kid?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really liked that movie as a kid.
Yeah.
The acting really is not that good now that I went back and kind of looked at it again. I mean, it's got the young kid from Meatballs or whatever.
Yeah.
He doesn't carry a film well enough to,
Yeah.
the Baldwin guy does, his and Dylan do great jobs, but that kid just killed it for me. He just can't act.
Yeah. I remember liking it a lot. I haven't seen it in a good 30, 35 years, but it was like the sleeper of the year when it came out. Everybody was on the bandwagon for it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So this is what I'd say, Rich, about everything else that we've talked about and stuff like this. I'll say this. This is what I'll say. So I know you had the Coal Miner's Daughter way up there and stuff like this. And Friday the 13th was your worst of the year.
Yeah.
So this is what I'll say. I would definitely watch Friday the 13th before I watch the Coal Miner's Daughter.
I had a feeling. But that's cool.
Wow.
I do not mind the slasher movies. I think Friday the 13th, like you said, it sets off a genre. I had The Fog written down because I like those kind of flicks. And
Yeah.
that would be, I like those, man.
I like horror movies if they're extremely well made, like The Exorcist, The Shining.
Oh yeah, there's a separation of how things are made.
Yeah,
If
Halloween's
it opens
another
up
one.
doors,
Yeah, Halloween's a low budget film, but John Carpenter does such a brilliant job with that film that
fantastic job.
I don't mind it. Whereas I don't see any upside to the Friday the 13th. That's just me. It's not my thing. But
Only number 1 and 2, Rich. Then it ends. Okay, that's it. So, but it's like that with all of those ones.
yeah. I guess they sold a lot of. Was he the one with the hockey mask and all that stuff? That was,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that was like a big Halloween costume for all through the 80s.
Him and the Michael
People show up
Myers.
at your door and you're going, Jason, well, calm down, buddy. Anyway, that'll wrap it up. That was
But I
a lot
think
of
all
fun.
things considered for the 80s, I think we covered off a lot of them. I think that's the list of the 80s, I think. And
Yeah.
For
if I could
1980,
throw an honorable mention in as like one of the worst, I mean, I had a couple, if that's okay.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh God, Book 2 was
Oh,
on the
that's
short
terrible.
list.
Awful.
Yeah.
Brian, I was really happy because I did have Popeye written down, but I had no lies. I show you the list, man. I had American Gigolo, and I thought, I put that off. It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Blue Lagoon was a little iffy.
Yeah, iffy.
Yeah.
But one that I really did consider really hard on was Bronco Billy. Almost made my list,
Yeah, it's
man.
pretty bad, man.
That is Clint's worst, man. That's
Yeah,
a piece
I
of
know.
crap. That's garbage.
I don't like it either.
Yeah.
A couple of chick flicks that were pretty well received at the time. 9 to 5, which I don't care for that much, and
That's
Private
not bad.
Benjamin. Private Benjamin with Goldie Hawn in the army. I could,
It doesn't hold up.
I discard both of those films.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up. For some reason, it just doesn't hold up for me. So
Yeah.
9 to 5 with Frank Hart, that holds up a lot better than fucking Private Benjamin, man.
Yeah.
And Private Benjamin.
And Dabney Coleman plays the ultimate misogynist bastard in that.
Oh
film.
yeah, he's just a
Yeah.
pig in that one, man.
He owns that role, man.
Frank Hart.
Yeah. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up. I'd like to hear some comments for our movie fans out there. 1980. What are your top 10? Give us a list. I always like to see other people's stuff. Are we off base? Are we on the money? Agree to disagree. I like all that
Totally.
stuff.
yeah, please.
We enjoy that. And of course, look for Brian's channel, Massey's Maine Entertainment, in the description below. Check out the music, Our Perfect Albums from 1980. I like the dual video idea. I think this is going to work well for us. I haven't even looked at 1981 yet, but that'll be the next step on this journey. So for both Brian and Doc, we appreciate you watching. Look for the series. Hope to have some good feedback. So take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.